Hello, welcome to another Alpha Strike replay video. My name is Adam and I'm joined by Tarron.
Hey buddy, we're still missiling, aren't we?
We are still missiling. So in the last video that we did, we were talking about some of our more interesting and favourite missiles, but you've got some other ammo that you want to talk about.
I've still got a couple of favourites to go yet. Yeah. We've finished off all the stuff that was in Total War and we jumped into one. I think we did heat seeking last time.
That combo of Inferno and heat seekers.
Yeah. So let's look at some of the other weird and wonderful things you can do with missiles.
Now you were talking about tandem charge. Did you have that one?
Is probably my favourite SRM in the entire known universe.
All right, well let's.
Besides
hear
Infernos,
about it,
obviously. I think Infernos and Tandem Charge are the two that I would most likely load up besides standard ammo.
Yeah.
So what your Tandem Charge is for standard SRMs and MMLs, because the MMLs can take both.
Yep.
They're specifically designed as armor penetrating weapons. It's a shape charge, and then it's got a secondary explosion as well. But in game terms, what you're doing is you're rolling for criticals even though you haven't breached.
Oh, okay.
So upon a successful hit, each TC warhead that strikes armor inflicts damage as a normal SRM round, but also rolls once on the determining critical hits table. If the warhead struck armor but not internal structure, apply a -2 to this roll.
Right. On your dice roll, okay.
Yeah, and then neither modifier applies if a TC warhead strikes internal structure directly. So you've got another modifier if you have battle armor value things and all that stuff for vehicles and stuff like that. But
okay.
You get a -2 if you strike armor and not internal structure, but you still get to roll. You just don't get the -2 if you hit internal structure. Okay, so what you're basically getting is you're not ever going to get that 3 result or limb blown off result. Yeah. Okay, you're not going to be able to get those, but you can, if you roll well enough, get a critical hit without actually having to breach armor. And that sounds silly, but it's really, really good.
Is that per missile? Or is that
per missile?
Per missile that hits.
Each TC warhead that strikes armor inflicts damage, but also rolls once on determining critical hit table.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's good. And I mean, the more dice you roll, the better off you are, right? If you're trying to get a 12, rolling a couple of 100 dice will get you a 12 at some point. But that is really, really good. And you can get that in an MML, which will go up to a 9 rack. So you can have up to 9 hit. If they all stay outside the armor, then they'll all get a -2, but they all get a chance. And that's the point.
Wow.
And that's why I love them.
That would be particularly devastating against vehicles.
Yes.
Because their internal, they use a different table for internal rolls.
Yeah.
But that,
against conventional infantry, the missiles are treated as if they inflict half the base damage value of an equivalent flight of SRMs, before applying any modifiers for heavy weapons, etc. Against battle armor, the attacker rolls 2d6 for each TC missile that hits a troop, eliminating the trooper on a result of 10+.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they're not fantastic against infantry and battle armor, but they are still pretty good.
Well, considering a clan battle armor is what, 9 armor, and then 1 for, or 10 armor and 1 inside. I think it's 10 and then the trooper inside. So you're essentially ignoring 9 points of armor that you have to chew through.
Yeah,
I would
if you can get a 10+.
Well worth it.
Yeah, it's well worth it. These are really good. These is one. They're my favourites. So against aerospace units, they function as standard SRMs. In the event of an ammo explosion, TC warheads explode for 3 points of damage per missile. So that's not good. They're incompatible with Artemis, Narc, or Streak systems.
I wonder why they only do standard damage against aerospace. Because aerospace have an internal structure.
Yeah, I think the types of armor and things change when you go to aerospace. I think the shape charge that they have that forms the real, like, blast into the internal structure is it just doesn't work as well against the aerospace units.
Okay. Maybe they're factoring like even the minimum speed of an aerospace flying is like one map.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just going so fast it doesn't get the chance to. Okay.
That could be
interesting.
Yeah. But it's
I'd
really
however,
good.
Put those on my aerospace fighters and go after the tanks and the mechs on the ground. Oh, what is it? Is it the Chippewa?
Yes.
It's got a whole bunch of SRM-6s or something.
Bunch of SRMs on the front of it.
Or the Reaver? I think it's there's a version of the Reaver that's got a whole bunch.
I think the Chippewa's got missiles. I can't remember whether they're short ones or not. But I love those things. I think they're
road. Experimental though, so
they're experimental.
Yeah, so
and they're Innisphere only, obviously, because most of the weird ammo is Innisphere only.
Suck it, clans!
Suck it, clans! We get cool stuff, but they are experimental level. So, and I think it's like 30, 20 something. They're originally 2753, so they were a Star League thing.
Wow.
But yeah, even with my crappy rolls, that is really, really good. And even with an SRM-2, even if you have an SRM-2, you fire an SRM-2 at the back of an awesome, and it hits, both missiles hit, you've got a 50-50 chance of both missiles hitting, roughly, right? Each one strikes armor, not a big deal. It still gives you 2 critical rolls. 2 critical rolls.
So you need to roll at least a 10 to do anything, don't you? Because you get a neg 2, so you got to roll at least a 10.
You have to roll at least a 10 or better in order to actually accomplish anything. But that's 2 chances to get a 10 or better, and it's 2 chances to get a 10 or better to bring down something that you haven't even damaged much.
Yeah, true.
And if you can get center torso, which is the average roll on the location table, is the torsos, you can potentially bring down or at least severely hamper a otherwise uninjured unit.
Yeah.
It's really, really good.
That would be particularly good against light mechs. Because remember that video that we were doing before about transferring of critical hits if you don't have something?
Yep.
So a lot of the light mechs, they don't have anything in like torsos, So it'll transfer straight into your center torso. You've got engines, you've got gyro, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really good.
But that's even against the bigger ones like the Awesomes, the Dire Wolves, all that sort of stuff that have like boatloads of armor.
Yeah.
And your little guy, they can get there eventually, but chipping away at it just takes forever. If you can give an Awesome an engine hit before you've killed all its armor, you've severely limited its ability to fire as weapons.
Had a Fafner with the 2 heavy Gauss in each torso and into the arms because it's so big. The gun's so big.
Yeah.
That's 25 internal damage on each of them if you crit them. Wow. And they're huge. Like they're just, you can't really miss it. That's
the other thing. Things like PPCs in an Awesome. If you hit a location on that PPC with a critical hit, that thing's wiped. It's gone. It doesn't work anymore. Yeah. And you haven't had to blow the arm off. You've just gotten in there. The Archer, right? I've had my trebuchets explode so many times.
Yeah.
I love them, but they explode. And this is one way to do that. If you hit an Archer with one of those, even front on, and if you can do it with a 6 rack, you've got 6 chances. Assuming you hit with all of them, you've got 6 chances to roll a 10 or better on 2d6. And if you can do it, then you get a critical. And if you can roll ammo with that critical and they're not guarded by case, boom.
You know what, the SRM-6 carrier is really, really nasty normally. Let's just load up with tandem charge stuff. That's just ridiculous.
It's rude, isn't it? I love it. It's great. You see why they're my favourites. That and Inferno. And I would put these above Inferno. I like messing around with people's heat, but that
just gets the job done.
And I'm not really, really good with rolling dice, but even I would take that chance. I mean, especially with an SRM6 or an MML9.
Oh, yeah.
You throw an MML9 at someone with tandem charge ammo in it, and you've got potentially 9 chances to roll 10 or better to get either 1 or 2. Because I think it's 8 is 1 and then 9 and 10 is 2, right?
9 and 10 is 2. Yes.
I think.
8 and 9, yeah, 8 and 9 is 1.
8 and 9 is 1.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've got the chance to get 2 of them.
You could get 2.
If you get a 12, you get 2 of them. Which is pretty good. It's not to be sneezed at. This is quality stuff. Yeah. So 8 or 9 is 1, 10 and 11 is 2.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. So if you roll an 11 or a 12, well, if you roll a 12, then you're set. You've got 2 critical hits.
Yeah.
If you roll a 10 or an 11, then you've got a critical hit.
That's fine.
Anything else, you're like
that's fine.
there.
If I get a chance per missile, that's
and that's it. You get a chance per missile. And it's ridiculous the amount of damage you can do with critical hits. If you can get them, you can severely hamper the enemy. It's really, really good.
Yeah, that's cool.
I love them.
All right. So what else have we got then? What else? Because you found something else as well that when you're going through the book.
Oh, the acid ones. They're fairly specific.
There was
incendiary.
There's incendiary stuff.
Yep.
I think that was that SRMs or
no, that's LRMs and MMLs for incendiary.
MMLs, but only as an LRM launcher.
Yeah, so
MML. Okay.
MMLs are really, really good for this sort of thing because you can take it as a unit and then add either LRM or SRM ammo to it, or both. I think I mentioned this in the one we did on MMLs. Make sure you take at least one type of short-range missile and one type of long-range missile, depending on the mission you're going to be doing, I guess. But the incendiary ones are basically just that. They're fast-burning fuel warheads. They've got incendiary rounds now. They are advanced, so that's not cool. But in Innisphere and Clan both use these, apparently.
Oh, okay.
Which is pretty good. They use the same rules as standard LRMs with the following exceptions. So incendiary LRMs are combined with other LRM munition types at a rate of 1 missile for every 5. Each flight of LRMs using incendiary rounds will thus function per its normal game rules as though fired by a launcher 20% smaller, rounded up. So your Artemis 4 enhanced LRM 20 will attack a unit as if it were an Artemis enhanced LRM 16.
Okay.
So
okay. Well, the missile table has that anyway, so that's fine.
So you can work that out, but you're 20% smaller rack size for these missiles, and it's LRMs and MMLs. So if you move into MML territory, you're not going to be shooting them. You're not going to be doing much damage. Well, the missiles still fire, but you're not going to do as much damage. So when fired at terrainal structures, incendiary LRMs receive a +4 modifier to all rolls for starting fires. Incendiary LRMs may not set other units on fire or directly raise a target's heat level, however. Unlike Infernos, the chemicals used in incendiary LRMs do not adhere well to armor.
Okay.
So you can set them on fire. Like you can set the hex they're in on fire, but you can't set them on fire. You can set buildings on fire, but you can't set the unit on fire. At least not the same way you can with Infernos.
All right, but it does give you a chance. So if you've got an LRM launcher, you can fire at range to set hexes on fire. So if someone, again, we were talking in the last video about how someone was in a hex using it for cover and all that sort of thing. So let's set it on fire and see if they like the heat, if they want to stay there.
Yeah.
It's the same sort of thing.
And the heat seekers that we mentioned before, if they move through a hex that is on fire, set on fire by an incendiary LRM, they get a modifier. So if the line of sight goes through it, they get a penalty because it could divert to this. So you could use these as anti-heat seekers. You see?
Oh yeah, that's another thing. What if an enemy unit is standing in the hex that's on fire and you're shooting at them with heat seekers?
Yeah.
Did we come across that? I didn't find any rule.
I think you only get the bonuses if the unit itself
is on fire. Okay, so it would end up being a detriment to your shooting with it then. Because it'd go for the fire in the hex and ignore the unit you're shooting.
Oh, okay. So if a flight of heat-seeking missiles is fired into or through a hex that has been set on fire, the +2 modifier applies.
Right, so you get the bonus against the target.
Yeah, so you get a bonus against the target because it's overheated. You get an additional -2 if the unit is on fire, but you get a +2 if the hex that it's in is on fire.
So it's a okay. Yeah. So if they're standing in a hex that's on fire, it's a penalty to your shooting.
A unit that's on fire gives you a bonus. A unit that's standing in a hex that's on fire gives you a penalty. So, but standing in a hex that's on fire is bad for you anyway. So,
yeah, true.
You know.
That's right.
So, against infantry units, conventional and battle armor, incendiary LRMs add +1 damage to their attack for every 5 missiles in the volley. And incendiary LRMs check for heat-induced ammunition explosions as Inferno missiles. Now, I don't think we did the extra table for Inferno, so let's briefly do that.
Yeah.
When we did our Inferno one, I don't think we mentioned the fact that they have their own internal explosion table. Yeah, I think somebody else mentioned it in a comment though.
Yeah, they did, yeah.
And I'm working on building those mechs. So from 10 upwards, you've got avoid numbers of from 4+ upwards. So at 10, you're avoiding on a 4+. This is a separate ammo explosion. So you're rolling to stop the Inferno ammo exploding. Yeah. So at heat level 10, you've got a 4+. 14's a 6+, 19's an 8+, 23 is a 10+, and then at 28, it's a 12. Oh. So you're just not, it just goes boom. Must be made in addition to normal void rolls. If the Inferno ammo explodes, it inflicts 2 heat per missile to the carrying unit to a maximum of 30 heat, along with standard damage from an SRM explosion.
Holy crap.
Yeah. It's nasty.
So that means, so if that location gets hit and you've got other locations with Inferno ammo, they're all going to just...
They're all just going to go.
They're just going to go.
Yeah, you're going to boil and you're going to explode. That's... Once the Inferno ammo starts cooking off, you've got serious problems. And these incendiary LRMs follow the same table. So that table I just read out applies to incendiaries LRMs as well. So be careful with your heat levels, people. All right.
So don't put them on mechs. Put them on tanks or whatever that don't track heat and whatever.
Have one of those, what is it, the incendiary rocket things.
Yeah, that's the way. But still, I don't know, like they could be useful, you know, they could be useful.
But if you go into the setting fires, the fire and hex and the smoke and fire rules, which I'm sure we'll get to at some point, these can prove useful in an actual full-on battle situation. If you're following all of those sort of rules. If you're not really interested, then you're probably just going to move away from incendiary anyway. They're not really that big a deal.
But smoke and everything's a good way, because it's got a certain height on the same, like if you're at level 0 and you've got smoke, it actually blocks line of sight or gives you penalties to shoot through.
Yep.
So that a lot of the inner sphere like to use it against the clans to sort of get rid of that range advantage that most of the weapons have. So.
And this will set fires very easily, which will decimate forest areas, but also create smoke, presumably.
Yeah.
You can get just a standard smoke missile.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We'll do that
one. We'll do that one, may as well.
So standard LRM, standard SRM, and MML. So it fits everything. They are advanced, and both clan and inner sphere can use them. They use the same standard rules as missiles for their launcher and size, with the following exceptions. Smoke missiles may only target hexes, not other battlefield units, and will not deliver damage to any units in the target hex.
Okay.
So you are creating a smoke column. You're not trying to hurt people. Smoke missiles fill a single target hex with a column of smoke 2 levels high, which there's rules about height and all that sort of stuff. This smoke is treated as light smoke if the weapon delivers 5 points or less in damage to the target hex. Otherwise, it's treated as heavy smoke. So your lower end LRM and SRMs and the smaller MMLs will only do light smoke, but everything else gives you heavy smoke.
And that, I think that works the same as line of sight for light woods and heavy woods. Yeah. From memory. So that's pretty handy.
This smoke dissipates in the end phase of the third turn after the attack. And they're incompatible with Artemis, Narc, or Streak systems. Now, I'm pretty sure you get a bonus for targeting a hex. I think there's a targeting thing for targeting a hex.
Wouldn't it be like a neg 4 because it's an immobile?
I think that's, yeah, I think you get a -4 for targeting a hex. But either way, if you are doing the full-on battle thing and the incendiaries and setting fires and cover and all that sort of stuff is appealing, then these are pretty good.
That is pretty good, because if you've got a mech that's sort of sitting up in this nice little spotty position and just plug it away,
yeah,
you could just fire off this smoke around them and that'll block them off.
Yeah,
if they can stay there, it's going to be, but they'll lose what, 3 rounds of shooting unless they're sort of indirect fire. That's pretty handy, actually. That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
It's not bad. It's pretty cool.
Sorry, I had a mini earthquake there.
Yeah,
there's a fluffy 4-legged thing running around in our house now.
Greeks call it the Minotaur. You guys call it Dexter, apparently. Oh dear. I'm not sure. I'll have to have a look for it.
That's okay. That's okay. It doesn't matter. But that's pretty handy. That is pretty
It's
handy.
good. I mean, it's 2 levels high, so if you're in the next hex, if you're adjacent to that hex, then it counts as intervening.
Yeah.
So if it gives you, like you say, light and heavy smoke give you light and heavy woods penalties, then standing next to it will give you the pluses to incoming fire, which is just really, really good.
Just fire it in your own hex. Give yourself some benefits.
Just,
yeah. You shoot me and I'll shoot you, buddy. Yeah. We'll help each other out.
And that's, while we're doing the SRM, LRM thing, I mean, if you want to have an objective-based game and you don't want to take any fire, then the LRM carriers with smoke rounds, all along there, run out, get the objective, run back. Boom, bang, bomb, done. There's so much more useful now, these LRM carriers and the SRM. Especially with that tandem. We'll go back to that tandem. The tandem charge. I love the tandem charge. But yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So that's another 3 missile types.
Well, there's more, but I think that'll do for now.
That'll do for now.
We won't be able to get to everything, but I think we've covered quite a few that are interesting. Yeah.
We'll see if we can.
And there's a lot of it changes, gives you a lot of strategic options.
Yeah. Well, there's still a couple of my favourites out there, so we'll have to do at least one more video.
We'll do one more,
but we'll see how we go. All good.
Okay. Well, thank you for watching, and consider subscribing if you haven't done it. If you've used any of this ammunition type before, or you've got any sort of war stories, leave some comments. We want to hear it. All right.
All good, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
See ya.